evening, friends. As promised earlier, I have decided to do this new video regarding certain provisions of the new Income Tax Act bill. The issues which I felt covering today is regarding the provisions concerning the survey, search and seizure, the intercorporate dividends, as well as the ITR refunds. So first, I am going with the new paradigm shift that has happened regarding the issues concerning the survey. Previously, in the earlier Income Tax Act, Section 133A dealt with the issues concerning the surveys, and Section 132 dealt with the issues dealt with the matters concerning the searches. Well, in the earlier Income Tax Act, the provisions regarding the survey were much less stricter or less, or they were much lighter in comparison to the actual search. During the actual searches, what happened that one could conduct a search at your office premises or even your residence, and they could take a they could take in possession your books of accounts, documents, money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable articles, and they could also take a statement of the SSE on oath, which they could use as an evidence at a later stage. But that was during the search, which is covered under Section 132 of the earlier Income Tax Act. But regarding survey, which was much lighter and contained in Section 133A, there no one ever, the departmental officers never ever took any statement under an oath. Yes, they used to take statements, but they never took any statement under an oath from the SSE. Okay, and there are several case laws concerning this as well. There is a proper Supreme Court judgment in the case of CIT versus Kader Khan, wherein wherein the apex court had clearly stated that a statement taken under a survey can never be used as an evidence in any case later on. Okay, so if any of your clients or any of your SSEs regarding whom you appeared in any litigation case or survey case, uh, and if your client had given any statement under during such survey, the such statements could never be taken as an evidence later on. But in the new income tax bill, the paradigm shift which has happened regarding the survey is that they have inserted a new clause 253, 253 subclause 5 subclause B, which concerns the matters regarding the survey. Okay, so as we all know that in the new income tax bill, there are no sections as such, but what we have are called clauses. Okay, so so the clause 253 explicitly deals with the matters concerning the service. Okay, now how the Ministry of Finance and Income Tax Department has tweaked the survey provisions is that, and which is very worrisome for me and even some income tax professional stalwarts like CA Advocate Narayan Jain has also mentioned, is that under this new clause 253, here the department can record the statement of any person on oath which may be useful for or relevant to any proceeding under this act. Now, this recording any statement under an oath, this has significant ramifications or significant implications in any case later on, as they may be used as an evidence. So the risk for the taxpayer becomes is that since the statement will be recorded under an oath, it could therefore gain some evidentiary value. Okay, now this is very worrisome because under this new income tax bill, what we are seeing is that earlier, the if any changes were to be made in the act, the parliament, yes, we all know that income tax act is a money bill, so it is not required. So the Rajya Sabha assent is not required for passing any money bill. Okay, but for any changes to be made, it required the assent of the Lok Sabha. But in this new income tax bill, what they have given is that they are giving the Central Board of Direct Taxes or the CBDT the supreme power, like the GST Council. Of course, the GST Council is constitutionally a different sort of a body altogether. But regarding the powers, the CBDT is gaining much wider powers as compared to the earlier Income Tax Act. Now, the CBDT can make any changes whenever it requires without obtaining the assent of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so now I am coming back to the survey provisions is that if any statement is recorded under an oath which gains an evidentiary value later on, then while you prepare your clients, while you deal with this, if any of your clients ever face any survey, then whatever statement they may make, it should be done very carefully. This is the point which I wanted to mention beforehand. Now, because that becomes very critical later on when you are appearing on your client's behalf at the appeal stages, or even in front of the officers who conducted the survey, or even the higher forums, or even the tribunals, or even the High Court, Supreme Court later on. Because whatever you do, you have to consider the aspects of litigation while dealing with it beforehand. So your tax planning should be based on the sole consideration is that if your client ever faces any litigation, how will you tackle it, how will you deal it? These things should be kept in mind while going through such provisions. And the survey, search and seizure provisions, they were very useful under, they were very important under the earlier income tax act as well, and this paradigm shift becomes very important in this new income tax bill as well. Okay, now what I gathered from this is that FM Nirmala Sitharaman madam, she had promised that the new income tax act or the new income tax bill will be much simpler in nature. And what the finance secretary or the revenue secretaries, they had made the promises, what promises they had made. They had said that we are not going to tweak any judicial pronouncements in this new income tax bill. Okay, we are just aiming to make this new income tax act a very simpler one. We are just going to drop the redundant sections. We are going to merge allied sections together and make new clauses, and we are going to make the overall law into a much simpler, less complicated matter. But regarding this clause 253, which concerns the survey, it clearly seems that they have not kept their promise. Okay, so now this is a issue which even I have seen videos of very senior eminent tax experts uh, from outside Kolkata, outside West Bengal as well. They are also discussing regarding this. So this is a very important issue. Okay, now the second point after survey which I felt like discussing today is that regarding intercorporate dividends. Okay, as we all know that earlier we had the section 80M, we had the section 80M that allowed Indian companies of the earlier income tax had act had section 80M that allowed the income tax Indian companies to deduct dividends received from domestic or foreign firms and business trusts when redistributing them to shareholders. Okay, now what this section 80M had, I am discussing it in very short. I am just catching the main points. Is that section 80M that aimed at curbing the double taxation impact. Okay, now what used to happen is that suppose one Indian company A is receiving a dividend from another company B. Okay, now after receiving this dividend from company B, in which it had invested shares or something like that, it this Indian company A used to redistribute these profits to its shareholders. Okay, now the section 80M, what it did was that it impacted only a single point of taxation. Okay, it called for only a single point of taxation where either the company used to pay the tax on such company A used to pay such tax on such dividends, or this tax incidence or the tax burden was passed on to the shareholders. In as per section 80M, this tax burden was passed on to the shareholders. Okay. Now, what is happening is that, and as a result of which the double taxation impact or the cascading effect of taxes was not there. But what has happened in this new income tax bill is that clause 148 deals with such intercorporate dividend deductions. Okay, clause 148 of the new income tax bill deals with such intercorporate dividend deductions. Now, there are two brackets or categories of taxes in which most of the companies are falling. Now, what this clause 148 of the new income tax bill 2025 is saying is that those companies, those domestic companies who are opting for the 22% tax rate, okay, in these cases, there is an impact of possible double taxation on such intercorporate dividends. Okay, now what is happening is that, as I said earlier, as per the earlier section 80M, the incidence of such tax was on the shareholders. But in this new clause 148, what they are saying is that the company A, which is receiving dividends from company B, shall also pay taxes, as well as the tax incidence is also passed on to the shareholders. So this becomes a possible double taxation or a cascading effect. Okay, now this cascading effect of taxes is going to impact the shareholders in the end, because going to impact the shareholders as well as both the company in the end. This is we cannot call this as a fair taxation principle. Nowhere in the world level at international global best practices, or what we call, nowhere this double taxation or cascading effect of taxes is being promoted now. Okay, now we have the World Economic Forum at Davos. We are having the discussions with President Trump and everything. We are having trade negotiations with various foreign superpowers, but nowhere is this double taxation impact or cascading effect of taxes, at no point is being promoted. Okay, so the incidence should be to curb inflation, to reduce double taxation, be it in direct taxes or indirect taxes. One cannot pay tax on a single source of income at both ends. That is my point. One cannot pay a tax on such single source of income at both ends. You can only pay such tax on one end. That is the global taxation practices which we are following worldwide, and that is only being promoted. Now, eminent tax experts have discussed regarding this. Even I have watched a few webinars. Some are saying that it might be an error of omission. Some are saying that this is a drafting error on the part of department while drafting this new income tax bill and so on, or it may be an error of omission or an oversight. They have not taken adequate care while drafting this new income tax bill and so on, so on. Many explanations are coming. But what my point is that The new income tax bill has been presented before the Lok Sabha. As we all know, that this bill has already been submitted to a 31 member select committee of the parliament, which consists of both the government as well as the opposition parties. And hope so, and what I am hoping is that they will soon start their discussion meetings, and they will soon open an email ID wherein general public can give their feedback on this new income tax bill. I am yet to know of such announcement that when this email ID will be opened for public feedback and so on. But when this feedback email is open, what I am saying is that we chartered accountants or we tax professionals discuss among ourselves the various provisions of this new income tax bill, and the possible detrimental effects which our clients may suffer, like the survey case which I was mentioning. Like in the earlier Income Tax Act, the search was supreme, the search and seizure was supreme. But now they are making the survey, the basic survey also a supreme thing, which might impact the litigation cases for our clients. So we have to plan accordingly. This is what I am saying, that we while that email ID for feedback is opened, we might have to give suggestions to the select committee, because what I am expecting is that the select committee will present its report in the upcoming monsoon session of the parliament, which is scheduled around July, August or something like that. And it is only after the submission of the report of the select committee that parliament will give its assent. Hopefully it will give its assent and the new income tax bill will find its passage and it will become a law, and the new income tax act 2025 will get enacted, and from 2026 1st April we are hopefully seeing a massive rollout. Okay, now the another point which I wanted to make, that is regarding the income tax refunds. This is a very simple and basic case, because mostly what happens is that the personal income tax filers, while the July date approaches every year, 31st July, what happens is that the personal income, the business files or the tax audit ITR files, their SSEs know that we might get our refunds a little late and etc. But what happens is that the personal income tax filers, they every time they will say you that Mr. CA, when do we get our IT refunds? Why is the processing not yet done? What happened? Why my refund has got stuck and all that, all that? If 2 or 3 months passes after you file the return. So every one of us faces such situations. Now what is happening? The new clause 263 of the income tax bill, there are ambiguities in this very basic thing as well. Now I'm going to show you how these ambiguities are occurring. Okay, so as per the chapter 20, there what they have said is that the clause 263 subclause 4, that is 263 bracket 4 of the bill, provides a mechanism for those who fail to meet this deadline. Now what they are saying is that suppose 31st July is the deadline of your ITR filing for the personal IT filers, that is the non-tax audit cases or the non-audit cases or the non-company cases, non-corporate cases. What I am saying is that now what they are saying is that there is another clause 433. Okay, there is another clause 433. So this refund is being dealt by the chapter 20 of the new income tax bill. So there are two clauses. One is clauses 263 and another is clause 433. These both of these clauses come under the chapter 20. So the chapter 20 is dealing with the refund. Okay, now what is this clause 433 stating is that every claim for a refund shall be made by furnishing a return as per clause 263. Clause 263 deals with the time limit. Okay, clause 263 deals with the time limit for filing your returns, that is the 31st. For example, 31st July is the last date of filing the normal ITR. After that you get a belated ITR filing, which in the existing system is till the 31st December of every assessment year. Okay. Till 31st December under the existing system, yes, you can file a ITR belated return and you can claim genuine IT refunds for your clients. But after 31st December, the ITRU or the ITR updated things comes, and in ITRU, you cannot claim any refunds. It has to be a taxable file. Okay. So this is the existing practice. Now what they are saying, this chapter 20, this clause 263 is stating the comparative, as per the comparative reading of clauses 263 and clause 433 under chapter 20, what is they stating is that for a person seeking a refund under chapter 20, they must file their return of income within the prescribed due date, that is 31st July. So if you don't file your IT returns within the normal time frame, you are not eligible to claim a refund. So this this can come as a rude shock or a disaster for most of your clients who are coming at the 11th hour, like say 25th July, 26th July, even on 30th July, that Mr. CA, please file our returns. And you are unable to file that return and you say, okay, don't, no problem, कोई चिंता मत कीजिए, आपका 31st आपका तो रिफंड ही आएगा, आपका 31st जुलाई के बाद मैं फाइल कर दूंगा, फलाना डीकना डेट में मैं 31st दिसंबर के अंदर फाइल कर दूंगा, पहले मेरा टैक्स ऑडिट्स भी निकाल लेने दीजिए, 30th सितंबर निकल जाने दीजिए, या फिर मेरा आपका 31st अक्टूबर निकल जाने दीजिए, फिर मेरा प्रेशर लाइट हो जाएगा, वर्क प्रेशर कुछ नहीं रहेगा, मैं आपका आईटीआर नवंबर या दिसंबर का खाली सीजन में मैं आपका कर दूंगा, चिंता मत कीजिए, आपको रिफंड मिल जाएगा। लेकिन अभी ऐसा नहीं चलेगा, अभी ऐसा नहीं चलेगा। आपका क्लॉज चैप्टर 20 को अच्छे से ध्यान में रखिए। चैप्टर 20 यही है रिफंड वाला चैप्टर, इसका अंडर में क्लॉज 263 को देखिए, क्लॉज 433 को देखिए, आप सुटेबली अपना टैक्स प्लानिंग कीजिए, अभी से, इस साल से कीजिए, क्योंकि हाँ इस साल आपका इन दिस ईयर यू विल हैव द ओल्ड इनकम टैक्स एक्ट, बट व्हाई आई एम स्टेटिंग इज दैट you start reminding, sending your clients a reminder right from end of May, because you see, you will transition, every one of us will transition to the new income tax bill next year, okay, but we have to prepare ourselves from this year itself. So we have to improve our discipline as well. So if we are not disciplined, we cannot make our clients disciplined. Yes, I know that there are many clients who come at the last hour, but at least from our part, हम लोगों को भी थोड़ा सा चौकन्ना रहना चाहिए, हम लोगों को भी थोड़ा अपना क्लाइंट्स को भी याद दिलाना चाहिए कि भाई आपकी सर आप टाइम पे आइए, नहीं तो आपको रिफंड्स नहीं मिलेगी। अगर हम अपना क्लाइंट्स को ये कहना चालू करें कि सर आप अगर टाइम पे रिटर्न फाइल नहीं करोगे तो आपका रिटर्न तो जाएगा लेकिन आपको रिफंड नहीं मिलेगी, then you will see there will be a marked change in attitude from your clients as well. Okay, but regarding this new clauses 263 and 433, what I am mentioning is that some like this is a violation of the principle of natural justice as well, because as per the Constitution of India, because this thing might invite invite litigations. Why? Because this is a principle which the income tax department is applying. Now I am going into the Constitution of India aspects while discussing this. One was the procedural aspects, now I am going to the Constitution aspects. What is that? There will be serious ramifications regarding this. Why? Because you cannot deny a genuine assessee a genuine refund just because he has not filed the IT returns within the original due date. and he has filed a belated return, you cannot deny a genuine refund to a genuine assessee. That is the principle. Even I know many discussions shall come up regarding this. We will see various CP circle meetings, we will see various institute seminars on this new income tax bill also. But these issues should be seriously discussed. Like, that is the reason I am discussing three very important issues. One was regarding the survey, that earlier there was no provision regarding taking a statement on oath, under an oath. Now, in this survey, which is a very basic thing, they will take a statement under an oath. So that becomes an evidentiary value later on. That is very important. That is very important. Because they are altering a Supreme Court judgment here, which earlier stated that any statement given under a survey does not have a evidentiary value. Qadar Khan versus CIT, the case which I was referring. There are various high court cases also, but I am particularly referring to this Supreme Court. Now the second one is that under this Inter Corporate Dividend Distribution, nowhere in the world there is a cascading effect on any taxes, be it direct taxes, be it indirect taxes. The aim is to reduce the global best practices, the global best taxation practices which the entire world follows. And even you see, our Prime Minister goes to the World Economic Forum, we go to the G20, we go to various international economic bodies, we go to the WTO, everywhere. Okay, now you see, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Commerce is also interlinked, because whatever trade negotiations we do with other international countries, everywhere they will ask you what global based trade or what global based accounting or what global based taxation practices are you following? Is your country following? Is there any cascading effect on taxes? Is there any point of double taxation? These becomes the basic discussions for any trade negotiations between two foreign powers. Okay, so here, if this intercorporate, like, you are nullifying that section 80M by this new clause 148. Okay, but there are two categories of taxation systems. In the case of 15% taxation companies, you are allowing them for a single point tax. But in case of 22% taxation companies, you are allowing for a tax both on the company as well as on the shareholders while distributing the dividend. So that should not be the case. So survey one, this dividend one, this refund one. I am personally yet to go through the other detrimental provisions which I feel that these must be discussed. Yes, this new income tax bill is a 632 pages thing, it shall take time to discuss. Now the fourth aspect which I felt like discussing is that I have personally, I am not an income tax expert to a large extent. I practice indirect taxes, as many of my friends know. My main area of focus is indirect taxation. Earlier, I used to practice service tax to a great extent. And after conversion to GST, after GST implementation, I have been a regular practitioner in GST. Yes, I do income tax cases, but my main area of focus is GST. But why I am bringing up this issue is that when you are transitioning from an old regime to a new regime, while we were implementing GST, the if I remember clearly, it was during August 2016, somewhere it was 4th August 2016 or 2nd August 2016. I clearly don't remember the date now, when Mr. Arun Jaitley was the finance minister. Okay, at that time, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, they had passed the constitutional amendment bill, if I remember clearly. That this constitutional amendment bill was that the power of the states to collect taxes, the sales tax, VAT, etc., octroi, these things were transferred and the power was given to the GST Council, and a body called GST Council was constituted. The body called GST Council was constituted through that constitutional amendment bill of August 2016. And the GST implementation committee or the steering committee was brought into force, where our honorable finance minister of that time, Mr. Jaitley, was representing, and In that empowered committee, our then finance minister from West Bengal, Dr. Amit Mitra, was also the chairman of the empowered committee, if I remember clearly. Now, while this transitioning, what they did is that they had brought out a model draft GST law in public a year back. Like GST was implemented on 1st July 2017. Okay. Now, even before 10 months before that, they had brought out a model draft GST law in public. Many of my friends who are into GST practice will gather what I am saying is that what happened is that when that model draft GST law was introduced, our very own Institute of Chartered Accountants ICAI had taken a great part. I remember clearly the Indirect Taxes Committee of that time. At that time, it was not called the GST Committee; it was called the Indirect Taxes Committee. They had taken a great deal of labor and pain to educate the members. Okay, uh, well, I had studied the GST right from the model draft law phase. Okay. Even I had seen various study circles conducting seminars during that model draft law phase, during November 2016, during January 2017. Even when the final, that was even when the final law had not come into place. The final law came into place around April 2017, if I remember clearly. This was the model draft phase, which I am discussing, because it was a gigantic paradigm shift in the indirect taxes. So, what the ICAI Indirect Taxes Committee did is that at all India levels, they held great deal of GST conclaves, and I personally congratulate them for their Herculean efforts, their mammoth efforts in this regard, and I have personally benefited immensely from all the GST conclaves which I attended. Yes, I think our Mr. Ranjit Agarwal, Mr. Sushil Goel, they were even Dr. Devashish Mitra, who is our past president, Dr. Mr. Agarwal, who is our past president, they were all there in that central council. They had taken a great effort, and I had attended each of the conclaves. I had attended all the conclaves. There were around 10 to 12 GST conclaves during the throughout the year of 2017. Some in Kalamandir, some in National Library, all the faculties came from all over India at these conclaves. And like even Jayesh Gupta sir came, Bimal Jain sir came, and then also even after that, I attended the certificate course on GST. So what happened is that by that time the first July 2017 rollout came. By that time, all these conclaves, all these certificate courses, what they did is that they help to prepare ourselves. Like the main thing was that before implementation of a new thing, even before getting our clients prepared, you have to prepare ourselves. We have to read ourselves. We have to go through the provisions. Like you see, just while discussing these three provisions, it has taken around half an hour. So my point is that uh, let us do group studies. I have had discussions with tax expert CA Abhishek Ram, who has just been elected from the Northern India Regional Council in our CA Institute. What he also was referring to us in the other day in his Facebook Live is that we should go for group studies. Okay, so before the monsoon session, there is about now is 18th February. The monsoon session will be around sometime in July or before the Independence Day. That is around last week of July or first week of August, something like that. So we have around March, April, May, June. We have around 4 months, 4 to 4.5 months before that. Okay, so we need to go through this income tax bill thoroughly. बट सबके लिए 632 पेजेस पढ़ना आसान नहीं है. तो आप लोग क्या करेंगे? तो बेटर है, हमको जो लग रहा है कि आईसीएआई का जो डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस कमिटी है, इस बार शायद जैसे उस दौरान आपका इंडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस कमिटी जो तब थी जीएसटी के दौरान, जैसे जीएसटी कॉन्क्लेव्स की थी, मेरा गुजारिश है आईसीएआई की. अभी तो देखिए आपका नवनिर्वाचित काउंसिल मेंबर्स भी आपका आए हैं, ठीक है? तो मेरा गुजारिश है, मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है सबके तरफ से, यंग मेंबर्स, ओल्ड मेंबर्स, जो भी है टैक्सेशन प्रैक्टिस में जो भी है, या फिर जो स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं, उन लोग को भी तो सीए फाइनल करिकुलम में तो ये लगेगा. तो आपका जो डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस कमिटी है, मेरा उम्मीद है, गुजारिश है कि आप लोग जीएसटी का जैसा कॉन्क्लेव्स हुआ था प्री जीएसटी एरा में, कन्वर्शन का ठीक पहले पहले, आप लोग भी प्लीज ब्रिंग new income tax bill conclaves. Okay, so that I think will be very helpful because अभी क्या है ना, थोड़ा आपको बल्क लेवल पे थोड़ा सा शॉक ट्रीटमेंट देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ऐसा आपको 632 पन्ना तो सब पढ़ नहीं पाएंगे। और मैं जितना भी लोगों को बोलूं कि आप लोग ग्रुप स्टडी करो, जो भी करो, कोई कुछ नहीं करेंगे। तो ये आईसीआई आप लोगों का एक्सेलेंट ट्रेनिंग सिस्टम है, मैं खुद जीएसटी का दौरान बेनिफिट किया हूँ। तो आप लोग एक काम करो, आप लोग काइंडली डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस का कॉन्क्लेव आप लोग लाओ, ठीक है? तो ये माने बहुत इश्यूज है, कैपिटल गेन्स में क्या होगा, आपका बिजनेस इनकम में क्या होगा, डिप्रिसिएशन में क्या होगा, काफी इश्यूज है जो जिसमें भयंकर भयंकर चेंजेस आ रहा है। टीडीएस में भी भयंकर चेंजेस आ रहा है, क्योंकि एग्रीकल्चर में भी आप अगर देखेंगे तो बहुत सारा चेंजेस आ गया है, काफी हद तक चेंजेस आ गया है। अभी आपका एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड इन अर्बन एरिया, जो पहले आप एग्जेम्पशन दिखा के, एग्रीकल्चर एग्जेम्पशन दिखा के काफी लोग निकाल लेते थे, अभी वो आपका आ रहा है। अभी आपका देखो, आपका डेयरी फार्मिंग आ रहा है, आपका प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ राइस, ये सब भी आपका आ रहा है इनकम टैक्स के अंडर। तो काफी सारा चेंजेस है जिसको लेके डिस्कशंस चाहिए, जिसको लेके प्रिपरेशंस चाहिए, क्योंकि ये पैराडाइम शिफ्ट हो रहा है। अब जो भी बोलो कि नहीं हम लोग सिंपलर बना रहा है, लिटिगेशंस नहीं होगा, ये नहीं होगा, देखिए सर, मैं तो ये तीन तो चीज को लेकर आपको बोला, ये सब चीज को लेके तो हमको लग रहा है कि आपका हाई कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में तो मामला दर्ज होगा ही। ये हमको जस्ट थोड़ा बहुत रीडिंग पढ़ने का बाद समझ में जो आ रहा है। तो आप लोग भी प्रिपेयर्ड होइए please. I am requesting the council members, the newly elected council members, you are very capable. Yes, our dear Ravida is here, CA Ravi Patwa, CA Sanjeev Das, CA Sanjeev Sanghi, you are the newly elected central council members. So आप लोग भी थोड़ा सा इंस्टीट्यूट में सजेस्ट कीजिए कि हम लोगों को जैसा जीएसटी कॉन्क्लेव्स, जीएसटी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का पहले हुआ था, आप लोग भी थोड़ा सा डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस कमिटी जो नया होगा, हम पता नहीं who will head this new direct tax committee, but ICAI is excellent. What I would suggest that in comparison to various accounting professional bodies in the world, this, yes, we do criticize our institute at times, but from a student point of view, from a student of the profession point of view, I will congratulate and I will thank the institute, because the way it imparts its training, those guidance notes, those guidance books, those background study materials, that indeed takes a lot of effort. And our institute does care a lot while publishing them. So please आप लोग ये डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस को लेके नया कॉन्क्लेव्स चालू कीजिए, ये ऑल ओवर इंडिया ही चालू कीजिए। ये हमको लग रहा है कि सबको ये सपोर्ट देगा, बहुत सपोर्ट देगा। दिस विल हेल्प अस ऑल in the long run. And if possible, please revamp the certificate course on direct taxes as per the new income tax act which is going to come in the future, because that I think will help the young members. Yes, it might not be possible for the older members who are above 60, 65, 70. It might not be possible for them to attend a regular certificate course on direct tax at this age and pass the exams and all that. Though I know there are very good senior members whom I know, they are even much more active than the junior members. Yes, they are even active than me even. I have seen aged members at that time, I was 70 age group, I was 65 age group who used to qualify forensic audit course. Okay, so even they will be, yeah, but even they will be interested in the new certificate course on direct taxes. But I think this new certificate course on direct taxes shall get a new fillip by virtue of this new income tax bill. So, okay, thank you. I have taken a lot of time. It seems it's around 40 minutes. I had thought of sharing my views on these three critical aspects as I had promised yesterday. And if possible in the future, I might come up with other videos. This has been a pretty long one. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So if any of you require any help, you are always free to contact. I shall try to give my advice to the best of my capacity regarding direct taxation matters or indirect tax GST matters. Thank you. Okay. Namaste.